We ready.
Hello and good morning. It's Sharon Taylor, founder and CEO of Bagels and Business for Breakfast. And we are now in season 2 of Bagels and Business for Breakfast. Uh, and today's topic is letting people go. So, good morning, Yvonne.
Good morning, Sharon. I am so happy to be here this morning. So happy.
And I'm glad to have you. And offline, Yvonne and I were just chatting about, she said, letting people go. I said, not relationships, but in business. But when it comes down to it, it is a relationship. If it's an employee, a colleague, someone working in your business, or a partner, that it's time to have that difficult conversation, right, Yvonne?
That's right, Sharon. We talk about those all the time.
And we talked about those in season 1, having difficult conversations on the coaching couch.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the reasons that we have to let staff go, partners go, colleagues go, and sometimes even our clients go.
Board members go. Just had to throw it in there for the
Yeah,
nonprofit
well,
shout out.
we're going to take them and we're going to let them go.
Yeah.
So sometimes in our business, we downsize, our revenue is not what we want it to be, and we have to let people go. We don't have the option of keeping people. Sometimes we can't pay you, right?
Yes.
And so at those moments, we have to really dig in, dig deep, strategize on the things that we can do ourselves, the employees or persons that are working with us that are essential workers. And I like to say all of our people are really essential if they are high performers, but the dollars sometimes don't let us do that. So when we're downsizing, we have to have a difficult conversation with ourselves. And then we have to have a difficult conversation with those that we're going to have to let go. So what do you have to say about that, Yvonne?
Yes, Sharon. The conversations are difficult. However, I like to always add in the conversations get easier along the way because when we realize that we're dealing with our business and everything is in the best interest of our businesses, then the just understanding that makes that conversation a different type of conversation for us.
You got that right, Yvonne, because we're in the business of business and making money and producing and scaling up, and we can't let these conversations go by the wayside because we're uncomfortable having them, because that negative energy will send you in a deep dive.
That's right.
So, like I said, when you're downsizing, you're gonna have to have it. It's no way around it. And I feel that regardless, when it comes time to letting people go, you just got to do it. And let's talk about poor performers.
You was reading my mind, Sharon. You were reading my mind because I was thinking in my mind. That's why it's so important to do your job, to do what you have been assigned to do, and to do it well. Because as the CEO of your business, or even if you're working for somebody, when they have to make that hard decision of making cuts, they're going to measure it by your performance.
You got that right, Yvonne. And I am a firm believer in checking in with people. In the government, it's pretty much every quarter they check in, they let you know what your performance is and where you can improve or where you've had some challenges.
Mhm.
And I recommend that for business owners as well. Set a schedule. Let them know when it's going to be. Let them know what to expect and stick with it. You can't do it one quarter and then the next quarter let it slide. And then they're like, well, I didn't know I was a poor performer, because people really do sometimes think that they're stars and they may be in a certain area, but not in the area that they're hired to perform.
Yes, Sharon. And I keep trying to just throw in the tidbit for nonprofits also, because as we know, a lot of times nonprofits, because they're already struggling for the resources of people and funding, have the habit of just kind of letting things go. But even in that space, just with myself, I just had a meeting today and sent the link for everybody to sign up to have a meeting with me one-on-one. So that one-on-one determines who goes in 2023 with us. And there was a time when I was, not doing that, because I'm like, we need the people. No, we need the committed people.
Dang, Yvonne, and we didn't even have this plan.
Right?
Great business minds think alike. And so I fell down in this at the beginning of my business. I accepted help, I brought someone on, and the synergy was not there. The way that I move was not compatible with the way that they moved. And so instead of having the difficult conversation about, let's talk, let's see if we can get on the same accord, I just say I waited it out until they got annoyed and left. Which is no way to do business, because some people will never leave.
That's for sure. They better hang in there and make you miserable before they leave.
And it was like grinding my teeth every time. The person is very smart, very capable, but it just didn't fit my platform, my mission, and my vision. And so I just grit my teeth every time. But God fixed that. And but I know now
Lesson
that
learned.
I've learned that I have to have those critical conversations. One, in the beginning, to set expectations.
Yes.
Two, in the interim, as we move along our relationship with that person.
Yes.
And three, if it ain't working,
we appreciate you. However,
here's a parting gift. Another thing that sometimes we gotta let people go because of bad attitudes. And that's one thing I can pretty much, I'm not gonna say deal with poor performance, but I will not tolerate bad attitudes, poor customer service, nastiness, backbiting, gossiping, none of that.
None of that. None of that.
We have to, because I look at it as like a weed in the garden. When you got that bad seed, that weed will grow and just strangle all the flowers that you already have in your garden. So I want our business owners to be very vigilant about it. And I want our business owners not to perpetuate it.
Yes. And another part of that, Sharon, too, is the fact that when you're the owner and you have your staff, whether they are volunteer or getting paid, they are a reflection of you. They are the extension of you. They may be the only face that someone sees. And who wants your clients or your customers turned away just because of somebody in their nasty attitude that is not a reflection of you or your business. So we do have to be very careful of that.
And that is so true. And us as business owners, we can't gossip. We can't talk about other employees to
That's right.
another employee. You got to be able to separate yourself from that level. You always got to be above and be a demonstration of what you want in your business.
Amen. We always say it's a little lonely at the top. We know why.
Yes, because people get upset with you. I mean, especially if their bread and butter came from working with you, if their reputation in the community is associated with you, if their status, people have a whole lot of things wrapped up into your business and being connected to you, especially if your brand is a brand that is really climbing, doing things, and that people really recognize. And that's more of a reason to make sure that you got a good team.
Most definitely, Sharon. Most definitely. So hopefully the business owners are getting the point here, because I have seen cases where the owner has been just as involved in provoking other staff people, being the one, doing the gossiping and playing and one thing that I think is very important to not do, don't play your staff against each other.
Oh God, no.
That is like one of the worst things that I think a business owner, supervisor, whatever the case, don't do that to your people.
I agree with that. But when you do get a new person or someone comes into the fold, don't sit with the new person and go around and talk about the people that are already there and say, well, this one over here does that, and this one over here is my favorite. And just let them come in and make and see for themselves. Another thing I want to talk about is when you do have to let someone go, is I recommend that you talk to them first. Because a lot of times we do things as human beings that are habit, and we don't recognize them as things that deter us from performing well. So have a conversation, and that goes back to you, Yvonne, saying that you're going to set up these meetings and have 101. It gives them an opportunity to hear what you have to say and to either say, okay, let me get my stuff together, or I'm already together, or I'm out of here.
Exactly. And Sharon, I just wanted to say, so even in that case, this won't be my first discussion. This won't be the first time they will have heard what I have to say. So this meeting is to say, okay, either we move forward with your involvement or not. So for the business owners that I wanted to point out that's important is, don't let that be your first conversation with people.
Yes.
Make sure you have a track record to say, we spoke here. This is where I told you what I needed from you. We spoke about it again. This is what I told you, and I still didn't see it. So now we are having this conversation because I have history of letting you know that you were not performing as needed or requested.
Yvonne, I tell you, I don't know what we doing today, but next on my little cards, and you can't see them, but I have keep records and a timeline for correction. So you're going to talk to the person. You're going to talk about solutions to the problem. You're going to document it. And you're going to say, this is the timeline for the corrective process, and we'll meet again such and such date. So you hit that right on the nail. And, it's easy to, in theory, think about it, but people find it hard to do. One, because they don't want to do it. And secondly, it takes them, like we said, we got to be all things in our business. This takes you to the management side, human resources side of your business. And if you're not sure how to handle it, you can always get somebody to come in to kind of mediate and navigate the conversation. You could always call Yvonne Lorraine.
That's right.
She is willing and able to coach you through it. And it's true, because our gifts are in different places, and if you're the type that's demure and passive aggressive, you may not, it just may be too hard for you. But there is always help. And like I said, and I'm not making light of it, because there is assistance. And like I said, Yvonne would definitely be a good person to come in, strategize with you, and talk to your employee and bring you guys to the table to assist you with having a difficult conversation.
Yes, sir. And the term I like to use that I recall from federal government, best practices.
Best practices, yes. Let's talk about some best practices. You got that right. And performance reviews is definitely a best practice.
Yes.
The other thing, and we touched on this is a little bit, is when you make a decision about possibly letting someone go, keep it to yourself. You don't ever want the the person that you're going to let go to hear it on the streets before they even know what's going on. Now, it's different if you're you have a partner in business and you got to discuss it. Fine, we understand that. But that talking around the office, social media, texting people, don't do it. And my dad used to say, don't write it down or say it unless you want to see it on the Washington Post.
Wow. Wow.
That's pretty old school, but you get the idea. If you don't want to see it in print, screenshot, heard on the recording, keep it to yourself.
That's right.
And always do it in person if possible. It's not all, especially during the pandemic, COVID, and people being, all around the nation. Sometimes it's not possible, but when at all possible, do it in person. So Yvonne, I want to ask you a couple of questions as you go forward, because I also want to say, when you should go through the process with the individual why you made the decision. Is that part of your process? Do you have your notes there? You have your records there? What does your process look like when you have your conversations?
So I have my questions already written down, and pretty much it's really for me to hear from them first. So I allow them to share with me, based off of my questions, and their response. Then I don't necessarily go into, on April, so. I don't do that. But they are, because people are very aware when they're not performing or when they're not showing up. So, I just have that very transparent conversation. And that's why I do it individually, because people talk more or they're liable to hopefully be more honest. And my goal is to make the conversation so that they will be honest and feel okay that, okay, well, if this is not something I can continue to do, I make sure that they know you're saying that you cannot no longer do what you had planned. It's fine. I appreciate the honesty. And maybe there's another area that we can just call you when, we have activities. But I can't have, especially in leadership, Sharon, you can't have your leaders not setting the presence for, and especially we bringing in new, younger generation. That is not a good look.
Oh, they gonna point it out. So and so is doing that, or so and so ain't doing that, and so
Right.
why am I required to
That's
perform at a certain level?
sets a bad precedence, and then and it brings the expectation down, because you know people look, like you said, they look and see, and it's not going to take too long for especially when we deal with our younger generation, like, well, they not doing it, I'm not doing it
Honey,
either.
it only take a day or two for them to assess the environment and figure out
Right.
who's who.
Right. So yeah, so pretty much that's how, and then at the end of that conversation, I will know which letter to send.
The other thing, when you talked about them maybe acting in a different capacity, that's a good segue for them, if they really want to participate and work with you, but they just not in an area that suits them. Because part of leadership and management is knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your team.
Exactly.
Everybody is not suited for every job. So I think that's a great way to, one, not discourage the person, and let them say, they'll say, well, I think I'd be better at working in the background, helping you set up stuff and paperwork or whatever. And you may need somebody in that area. So that's a good way to kind of move people around and see where their strengths are. But what I can say, there is just no room for a bad attitude. Some of those things you just can't correct, and negativity. So, I don't care if you know how to do an Excel spreadsheet inside and out, because what I do know, Yvonne, is that there's a line of people right behind me, right behind you, and right behind them that can do it better.
Exactly. And Sharon, because we're talking about this in this manner, I just have one more area I would like to remind our business owners too.
Okay.
I know we're talking about when we get rid of people. But also be careful about the people that you bring on. Also.
Yes.
Don't let them come, because it's amazing. People will join and have things to say about the people that's been there. And then they have you thinking, you have to wonder what's been going on. And it's like, no, don't do that. Really. We have to assess the whole situation. And my comments were a lot from, the nonprofit. For a for-profit business, you might not have the option of moving them or giving them another option, because if they're getting paid, and especially if they were getting paid for a skill that they were supposed to be able to grant you while they were working there, then it just may be a situation of maybe you weren't prepared, didn't have the skill that you said you did. Right. And that's why we have to let you go, because I need somebody who can do the work that is required. So that's
going to get paid for doing that job.
Yes, that's a different conversation.
But it goes both ways, and I'm glad that you show it from a nonprofit perspective, because I'm on a board that's a nonprofit, and so I'm not the executive director, but boy, they can get messy. Yeah. So, but all that, it's time for us to eat a bagel or have some breakfast. We talked about business. Again, Yvonne, where can they find you? Because I know people need you. Where can they find you?
Yes, you all can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Email me. I am Yvonne Lorraine. Email is IamYvonneLorraine@gmail.com. And y'all see my logo, Innovative Visions, behind me. So that's me, Yvonne Lorraine. Thank you, Sharon.
And thank you. And you know where to find me, the BVD Center. So peace out, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yes.